All right. Shalom Yasharallah. Before we get started, we don't give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Bahashem Chakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. We're back, another video, another lesson. And the title of this one's going to be called To the YT Looking People Who Are Israelites and Those of Other Nations. Now I'm gonna change the title around, the sound, make it sound, more fitting. But I'm gonna use this title for right now. But when it's posted, you'll probably see something different. But this is which YT stands for white people. All right, but to the because I'm doing this video because first of all, through the Holy Spirit of Yahweh Shemiel Shai, but also I saw the video earlier of the elder Manata Zakba. He did a video, all right, concerning. Well, he did a video on these two gods right here that you see, Hebrew Israelites.
Now, this message today is for all my YT people.
So you see, Salakia. So you see this guy. He did a video on. Okay, his title was Hebrew Israelites and my beloved Edomites, because that's what they truly are. If they come from that sea line. But this guy right here, he does a video sent to all my YT set apart ones. All right. Now we preach and we teach that you have so-called white looking Israelites. We even show you what's that guy's name? Is it Paul Wall? I think it's his name, Paul Wall, something like that. You see, this dude is clearly an Israelite. Okay, an Israelite. All right, white looking skin, but you can tell. And we judge by the spirit. We just don't go off appearances. We go by the spirit, man. All right, Blake Griffin, Patrick Mahomes. Now they're lighter. They have lighter skin, but they're not fully white. But look at their children. Let's go to Patrick Mahomes' child. Okay, Patrick Mahomes. All right. First look at his father. Okay, his father clearly a Jake. Pat Mahomes. This is his dad. Okay, and this is Patrick Mahomes when he was young. This is his mother. Now his mother could be a Jake, but this is his father right here. Okay, so that's his father. Now let's look at his daughter, or if he has a son. See, look at his daughter. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Look at his wife. Okay, look at that child. Blonde hair, blue eyes. But what? She's still an Israelite, because it's the seed of the father that matters. All right. So you're gonna have so-called white-looking Israelites, but they're, you have so-called white-looking people, but they're still Israelites. Is what I meant to say. All right. Even other nations. You got those over, and you got Israelites all over, because we're scattered. Let's get that. Let's start with that. Because these Christians don't understand, and it's clear that you don't watch the videos. You just go off a notion, and you run with that. This is Deuteronomy 28:64. I'm sorry. All right. And it says, and the Lord Yahweh, right? That's the Most High's name. His name is Yahweh. The Lord Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. See? So the Lord said he will scatter us among all people. Let's get Deuteronomy 4:27. It says, and the Lord, shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. Okay, so when we're scattered, it's clear there's a scattering of the Israelites. All right. Ezekiel 12:15. And they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, when I shall scatter them among the nations. All right. And disperse them and the countries. So it's clear there was a scattering among the different nations, right? Which meaning what? We were scattered among the Edomites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Ishmaelites, the Elamites, the Hamites, all right, and the many more ites today, which are called, so-called white people, Caucasians, so-called Chinese, so-called Japanese, which are still scattered among them till this day. Let's get Romans 8:16. And it said, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. Okay, so the Spirit beareth witness. All right, you hear this word, and it clicks with you. It makes sense to you. All right, and you could look like somebody totally different. You don't always gotta look like you always gotta look like what's that dude's name? Who played? I forgot his name. Wesley Snipes. Yeah, you don't always gotta look like Wesley Snipes, or you don't gotta be always dark skinned, because you do got Israelites out there who believe only they're called black only Israelites. They only believe that only black people will be delivered. But what about the northern kingdom? What about them? Right. So let's get Isaiah 11:11 to show you. There's Isaiah 11:11, the restored remnant, and there's a remnant. Now I'm not saying just because you're an Israelite doesn't mean you're automatically going to be saved. You have to be of the elect. All right. So if you're of the elect, you'll be saved. It doesn't matter what you look like. All right. But if you're an Israelite and if you're of the elect, you will be saved no matter what you look like. Verse 11, it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. Who is his people? The Israelites, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. Okay. And we're scattered still to this day, scattered into among these nations. All right, you can go over in China. You could find some Jacob thinks he's a Moabite, but his seed line goes back to an Israelite. All right, and in this video, this dude was saying that somebody that he follows, a woman, a sister, he says that she was crying because a camp told her that Edomites won't be saved, which was true. They won't be saved, but just because you have white looking skin, you got blonde hair, blue eyes, and your skin is lighter, doesn't make you an Edomite. You could be an Israelite. Same thing if you were, you could be among those heathens in the Middle East. Just because you look like them don't mean you are them. You're clearly different. We see that. It was a video of you got these guys over in the Middle East. They got they look like they call them what is it called, the Punjabi. But they were rapping, they were doing all this, that it could be Israelites. Doesn't make them heathens, right? Let's get Acts. Let's get Isaiah 10:22, right? You go watch the rest of that video, on your own. I just want to bring that out. Isaiah 10:20. A remnant will return, right? A remnant will return, not the whole nation of Israel. Okay, only a remnant will return. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty power. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, which is a lot. There's a lot of Israelites out there. You can't number us. And we're scattered into other nations too. Yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decree shall overflow with righteousness. So only a remnant will return. All right, and that remnant could look like white people. You could like a Chinese. You could like a Japanese. You could like a Korean, the Asian, a Hamite. And it's with Bishop Nate and then they're going to West Africa. You got Israelites over there. Nigeria, Ghana. I don't really know all of them. Okay, but you got Israelites over in that region. The Bantu tribe, the Ashanti. But the focus is in America. Where they go, what they doing is off, but the focus is in America. But there are Israelites too over there in West Africa, you know. So you got Jake all over. You got Jake in Italy, Germany, Rome. You got Jake in you got Italians. What they call some Italians. They're Israelites. Okay, I forgot. It was a certain name they were called. But like what's that dude's name? I just seen him recently on a show. 0 Day. Let me see. Yeah, this dude right here. Robert De Niro. Clearly, he's a Jake. You know, Italian Jake, man. All right. This ain't no heathen. Okay, and there's other, Jakes out there that look like this guy, but it's still Israelites. So it's clear that a lot of you people don't listen to the videos. You just run with this notion of, because they call us black Hebrew Israelites, which we're not all black. Black is it's a word that they put on us, which means void of light. It means wicked in a bad sense. Morally. They call themselves white because white is pure. They try to make it in a good sense, but they're not white and we're not black. We're different shades of brown. Okay, and they're red. They're the red people. But that's another video for another day. But let's get Acts 2:5, right? To show you that we'll come from all nations. Acts 2 and verse 5, and it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem, dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, right? Who are the Jews? Jews are, the term Jew comes from Judah, but the Jews were also Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? Devout men. It says out of every nation under heaven. Out of every nation under heaven. So these were Jews. Okay, what does devout mean? All right. Can Esau be devout? No. It says devout, taking hold well, carefully, surely, cautiously, reverencing the Most High. Okay, pious, religious. The Esau doesn't reverence the Lord. Okay, he's not pious. Pious means devoutly religious. All right. It says of a hope sincere but unlikely to be fulfilled, dutiful or loyal, especially toward one's parents. All right. So Esau is not devout. Okay. Verse 6. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans, which they spoke Hebrew? And now here we, I don't want to just say that. Let me see. I'm sorry. Let me see. I want to spell this wrong. It says, while Galileans did have a distinct dialect, it's more accurate to say they primarily spoke from an Aramaic rather than Hebrew during Yahushua's time. Yeah, whatever. Because Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus, he spoke Hebrew. Let me see. Did they? Okay, so they give us the same answer. It says Aramaic, a Shemitic language, was the common tongue of, they say, Christ, Galilee. Greek and Hebrew was certainly also have been spoken widely, so they did speak Hebrew, because Yahushua spoke Hebrew to Paul. But it says, verse 8, and now hear we every man in our own tongue wherein we were born. That's this speaking in tongues, right? It says Parthians and Medes and Elamites and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia in Egypt and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of the Most High. And they were all amazed and were in doubt and saying one to another, what meaneth this? Okay, so these were Jews, all right, out of every nation under heaven. Okay, showing that we were scattered among the nations. All right, now back then they did have a little bit of color, but nowadays, Jake is much lighter, as we just showed you. Pat Mahomes, Blake Griffin, all right, Steph Curry, it's a lot. So not just because you may look white, but your seed line could go back to being an Israelite. But like we read in Romans 8:16, the spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. All right, let's get this last one, Revelation 7:9, and it said this how the Christians try to use. Like when you go into it, you got the 144,000, which are all men from the children of Israel, right? Then you go down. This is the multitude, and this is after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. Now, who is this talking about? Well, let's get that word kindreds, and we'll show you. Kindreds in the Greek is phule, and it says a tribe. In the New Testament, all the persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. All right, one of the 12 descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. You see that? And don't you think that the descendants would, be scattered into other nations and deal with the women of the other nations? Now we can get one example. King Solomon, right? 2 Kings 1:11. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. You don't think, Solomon had children with these women? All right. Now we know Rehoboam came from Solomon, right? And I think his mother was a Ammonitis. Let me see. Let's look that up. But Rehoboam was still of the house of Israel because his father was an Israelite, right? Let me see. Okay, this is it. This is 1 Kings 14 and 21. And Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 40 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which the Lord Yahweh did choose out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonitis. Okay, so he had a Ammonitis as a mother. But what was his father? His father Solomon, King Solomon, was of the tribe of Judah, because Solomon comes from David. That was David's son. All right. So clearly showing you that, you can have, you could be a white looking person or, a different nation. But if your seed goes back to the, to being an Israelite, then, that makes you an Israelite. All right. So you Christians out there and you other Israelites, all right, who say it's only black, who say it's black only, you're in error. And you don't have the Holy Spirit upon you because why? You calling upon a different name, all right, thinking, that's the right name, but it ain't called upon Yah or Yahweh. You don't got the Spirit on you. Okay? So, Lord Williams was edifying to you brothers and your sisters out there. And those of you, who may look different, but you're an Israelite, this is for you. All right. Now, if you're now, I'm not saying that just because you're an Israelite, you will be saved. All right, because 2/3 will die on their side. But if you're an Israelite and you may look different, but and you're of the elect, you will be delivered. And we hoping and praying we're delivered. So, Lord's when this was edifying, we gonna give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Lord, you was edified, and if you don't say, Shalom.